Yo, guys, what's up? This is Fantasy Feeling with dfsarmy, and this is your Battle Royale Week 15 first look draft. Let's do it. All right, so let's start out with the game tiles, courtesy of dfsarmy's Domination Station. Looking like a good slate for Week 15. All the teams have finished their buys. It's Week 15, fantasy playoffs start. Hopefully, you advance your best ball teams. Hopefully, you advance your season-long teams, and that's going to be some good payouts for you. So, good luck to everyone on that. But what I'm excited about, in addition to obviously the first round of the playoffs, is we get all the teams back. We got several good spots. So I think we're not going to have to try as hard this week to get unique with our builds, because I think a lot of the field is going to be going a few different ways. You could see we've got 1, 2, 3 games with almost a 50, 49 and a half or more score, one really high 55. So for sure I think the field is going to be heavy on this one. But there's some other spots too that I think the field is kind of sleeping on. Washington versus the New York Giants. This is a 47-point total. Can definitely hit the over with the defenses that we've seen from these two teams this year. We got Seattle. It's a low game total, but they have a high implied team total. So I'm not interested in any indie players this week, but potentially, there's several guys that are in a smash spot here. We're talking, the running game is heavy favorites for sure. Obviously, JSN. So, there's some good spots there. Also, we got Baltimore versus Cincinnati. Obviously, the last times these teams have played over the years, when, we got Burrow healthy, these games have shot out more times than not. So I think this is potentially a good spot for both sides. Baltimore, they definitely need to win. They need to win out to have any chance of the playoffs. Their season is probably over, but, there's still a little glimmer of hope, just because the division is kind of down this year compared to what it has been in years past. And on this Cincinnati defense side, of course, they're not good defensively. So this is a spot where Lamar's back in play. We know the Bengals can't cover tight ends, so we're going to be interested in both Andrews and Likely. I'm curious to see what their ADPs are. That's a good way to get different. Obviously, Derrick Henry against a very poor run defense. So a lot to like here. And then on the other side, Cincinnati, Baltimore has not been very good defensively this year either. It's Kyle Hamilton and a bunch of guys. So I like the potential for this game to shoot out. There's a lot of fantasy goodness in that one with the 51.5-point team total. And then we have the Bills against the Patriots. Now, my personal take is what happened last time is not going to happen this time. We are going to see a much different Bills team. They're going to, be ready for this. And I think the Patriots are going to get their best punch. So I like the Buffalo side here. Josh Allen, we've seen last week. We've seen him multiple times. Best quarterback in the NFL. He will take the game over if he has to. So Josh Allen is definitely a quarterback that I'm going to be interested in this week. Naked builds will definitely get it done, unless there's a really good matchup for like the tight ends, like there was last week with Kincaid and Knox. I think more times than not, you just can lean on Josh Allen. And then James Cook, he had a bad week last week in a great matchup, but one thing about James Cook, he often will pop out of nowhere in a bad matchup, take a ball, break a hole 60 yards to the house, and, he's one of the top scoring running backs on the slate when it's all said and done, regardless of the matchup. So I'll have interest in him. I'll have interest in Josh Allen. And then obviously Drake May, front runner, or at least it's very close for him and Stafford really battling out for MVP. So Drake May's another guy. Yeah, who are you going to stack it with? It's hard to figure out. None of the matchups really jump off the paper. Decent rushing matchup. But with Stevenson back, it's really hard to trust Stevenson or Henderson. So Drake May's another guy. He's kind of Josh Allen light. That's the way Cecil, who was on, Draft Battle, with us a few weeks ago. It described Drake May, and it's kind of the same thing. I think you could just play Drake May naked. You could play Josh Allen naked. If you're doing a lot of these drafts, that is certainly a good way to attack it. A couple other spots that stand out. San Francisco side. This stands out from a passing matchup. It's a good passing matchup for Brock Purdy. It's a good running matchup for Christian McCaffrey. So I'm going to be interested in San Francisco players. 0 bringbacks. Don't need to stack that one at all. And then the last one, really, as of Wednesday recording this, that really stands out is the Detroit and Los Angeles Rams game. Now, what's different about this game for me is the Rams have been so good offensively, and Detroit is not a good team defensively. So this game has high shootout potential as long as Detroit can throw the ball well. I think this game has potential, and the Rams are kind of a pass funnel because you can't really run on them. So what I like about this is I think it makes it a little more likely that we're going to see more Amon-Ra, St. Brown, more Jameson Williams. So I think this game does have a lot of shootout potential, potential for a high-paced back and forth affair. But I really like the Rams side a little bit more. And, I don't know that you're really pushing bringbacks and battle royales, but I think, this is a game that you can really heavily lean into, like ping pong stacks. You got Amon-Ra, and then you got Devontae Adams, right? Or you got Puka, then you got Jameson Williams. And, even though it's a tough matchup for the running backs, Gibbs has that ability as a pass catcher and just as a special talent to beat a difficult matchup. I'm not going to have a ton of Gibbs. I'm curious to see what his ADP is, but he certainly has the ability to get there. So I think that's going to do it for the preview. Let's hop into one of these. Let's look at ADPs. Let's see where we're at. What in the world was that, Eric? Timeout of... I don't know what that means at all. I think it's okay. We're waiting for 4 people. So let's see how fast this fills. And let's kind of look at some ADPs here. So right away, we have Christian McCaffrey looking like the top dog this week, and that is certainly no surprise to me. Good matchup against Tennessee. See, Gibbs, that is definitely ADP that I do not like given the matchup. The Rams have been one of the toughest teams to run on. So I think if that's going to be the ADP, I'm likely to go JSN, who's got a stellar matchup against Indy, down 2 corners, starting the ghost of Phillip Rivers. Is he playing because he needs more kids, or he needs to feed his kids? Like, what compels a dude who's 45 years old, made a ton of money, hasn't played in 5 years to come out of retirement and play against that defense his first game back? That's crazy to me. I think Seattle, for those guys playing traditional DFS, if you're playing, your season-long leagues, if for some reason Seattle is out on the waiver wire, pick them up. They're going to be a core play this week, I know, at dfsarmy against Phillip Rivers, who could potentially be starting after not playing for 5 years and looking absolutely toast the last time he played 5 years ago. But JSN, I love JSN in this spot. I love Puka Nacua. Chase, I think we go back to Chase. He burned us last week. If there's no T. Higgins, this is a great spot against Baltimore. He's certainly smashed Baltimore before. Josh Allen deserves to be the top quarterback off the board, so I certainly like that spot. I like Derrick Henry. That matchup against Cincinnati, terrible run defense. They've been a little better recently, but some of that is just because they get skewed because like James Cook fumbles twice out of the end zone, right? So that is such a huge swing in points. James Cook should have a 25-point game. He ends up with like an 11-point game. Amon-Ra, yeah, as I was saying before, I like the Amon-Ra. I would much rather be on Amon-Ra this week than on Gibbs based on the matchup, and I just think it, kind of plays into a high-paced back and forth game between the Lions and the Rams. So looks like I am picking fourth. I love that because I don't have to potentially take Jahmyr Gibbs. I could probably take one of JSN or Puka Nacua in that spot. Jonathan Taylor, this is quite high. I said fade him last week. That worked out. I think there is a couple things here. If they're going to seriously play Phillip Rivers, I think there's a real chance that they try to keep this game close and they give Jonathan Taylor as many carries as possible, like 30 carries. That said, I don't think they're going to be able to do that for very long because I think Seattle is going to score and score often. They're going to get forced into a negative game script. None of that really favors Jonathan Taylor, so I am really not interested in him at all this week. I just think there's better matchups. I'd rather play James Cook in a tough matchup because I believe in their offense to keep it competitive much more than I do a Phillip Rivers-led offense. So let's see how this falls. Christian McCaffrey, no surprise, number 1, and then we get Jahmyr Gibbs, number 2. True to ADP, I wouldn't have taken that. I'll take whoever's available, either Puka or JSN here. This is too good of a spot for both of these guys. Travis Etienne. Oh my goodness. Do I want to take JSN or do I want to take Puka? You know what? Who has a higher projection? Yeah, our projections aren't even in yet. I'm going to take Puka here for the reason that I said I'm going to try to solidify the ping pong stack. I'm guessing I won't be able to get Amon-Ra. He'll probably be gone before. Okay, there went Jonathan Taylor. I could take Amon-Ra here. Or do I wait and take Jameson Williams? Do I take Josh Allen naked? This is a tough choice. I'm going to take Amon-Ra. I'm going to pass on Josh Allen. Maybe we will go for Lamar Jackson. Maybe we'll go for Drake May. If we get Lamar, we can stack him up with Likely, Mark Andrews. These guys are going late. That's crazy to me in such a good matchup. So, yeah, we'll kind of see how this goes. We're done at wide receiver. We could take running back. We could take tight end, quarterback. Yeah, that was really early. So here's the deal. Travis Etienne and Woody Marks have good matchups this week, but you could have got them so much later. Let's see what this guy. The ADP is 21. I'm hoping this draft does not get. Hoping this draft does not get thrown out. We'll see how the rest of this goes. But that's typically concerning when you got a guy that takes 2 players so far ahead of ADP. So Allen went, Henry went. Those are some guys I definitely would have considered taking. James Cook is there. Do I just take James Cook here? I think I do. Like I said before, James Cook routinely will beat tough matchups and just kind of out of nowhere post like a 25 and like a tough matchup and be in the winning lineup. I think I would take Lamar or May with my next pick. Loving the team so far. A lot of firepower. But obviously, when you get one guy that takes 2 players way above ADP, that's always interesting, and you're obviously going to get some really good value. We'll just hope that this draft does not get thrown out. That's just obviously a concern here. And then, yeah, this guy's starting 3 wide receivers. That's definitely an unconventional start. Clearly going wide receiver in the flex, but to start with 3 wide receivers is definitely different. You do not see that a whole lot. See if he takes a running back here or he just punts and takes running back at the end. Took Kittle. Okay. All right. So Lamar did make it back. I think I'm going to take Lamar. I can stack him up in the last round with one of the 2 tight ends. I guarantee one of those guys will be there. And we can look at taking another running back or taking our second running back. Tough matchups for a lot of these guys. A Marion Hampton going late. That's not a bad one. Josh Jacobs against Denver. Don't want to do that. Travion Henderson. Do I want to take two running backs in the same game? Travion Henderson is an interesting running back because he's very explosive. If he gets 20 carries, like he's probably has a great chance of being in the winning lineup, especially, in a game that ends up being higher scoring. If that's how, the game plays to the script, and obviously it's kind of a moot point at this point, but it's a big ask because they seem committed to running not Henderson, but Stevenson. So we got to look for another running back. I don't want to know that I want to take Jacobs, Perrine, Chase Brown. I don't know. He's cutting into his usage. Rico Dowdle. I mean, Rico Dowdle's got Kyron Williams. Part of me is like, do I just go down to like a Marion Hampton? Some weird things happen in this draft. Just some tough decisions. I think I'm going to take Likely, get my Lamar Jackson stack just so I can think about this a little bit more. We have given up on Kenneth Walker, but it's actually not a bad spot. Part of me is like, do I just take Chase Brown? I just don't know. Cleveland and Chicago. It's not a bad spot for Judkins. KC isn't as good as they've been defensively. There's some tough decisions here. Normally, I don't have this difficult of a job picking the running back I'm going to pick. But you know what? I had started Marion Hampton, so I'm just going to take him. We'll kind of look at the draft board as this falls. Like, obviously, ETN and Woody Marks, these guys should have gone in the 4 or 5 range as opposed to first or second. So we'll see if this draft holds up. Other than that, I liked the picks. I think that's too early for Rashee Rice. Just haven't seen it from him. The Chiefs, just their offense. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't have taken Rashee Rice at the 1-2 turn. So I felt that was a little early, but I like Henry, Josh Allen here in this range. McBride's always in consideration. Nico Collins, not a bad spot for Nico Collins against the Cardinals. Actually, a pretty good spot for Nico Collins. So I don't hate that. A.J. Brown, decent spot against the Raiders. Good bounce back, spot for them. I obviously took James Cook. I like Barkley, so I'm in on Philly this week. Everyone's way down on them, but it is the Raiders. They gotta have it, gotta have that win. So I think that's a good spot to go back to Philly, take some chances there. Love Devontae Adams. Had I not got Puka, I could have seen like taking JSN and then getting like Devontae Adams, for example. I love that kind of pairing. Like, Puka Nacua fails, JSN's the wide receiver you need in the first round. And the reason Puka Nacua failed is because you got Devontae Adams got all the tutties, right? So Kittle always in play. Bowers, can they just target Bowers more than 5 times? Like, so tilting. tough matchup. I don't really like it. Higgins, I'm not sure Higgins plays this week. So, this draft value-wise, it was all over the place. If Higgins plays, it's a good draft. Otherwise, you know, you should have went wide receiver with one of these picks. You could have got one of these guys later, and just a silly waste of assets. Ted's been good. He was on the bye week, out of sight, out of mind, but he's back, and Phil's probably going to be sleeping on him a little bit. Love Michael Wilson. Again, if Marvin Harrison Jr. plays, I saw a report today he might not play, so we'll see how that goes. Love Fannin. Would have taken him. Would have considered taking him if he was still there, even with drafting Lamar, just because he's such a part of the offense. And any week, any tight end can go off for Baltimore with the split share, but it seems like Fannin is just so much more involved than other tight ends at this point. Love Burrow this week. Love stacking him with Chase, but I think you can even run him naked. This week, like let's say Jaceki, Yoshibas, they get a touchdown. Either of those guys, could get there, and I could see if you get Burrow late and you have a stack team, I could totally see that, especially if you have like a bring back on the other side, or maybe you stacked them up with Chase Brown. Love Stafford this week. Stafford, this is great with Adams. Like I do love that. I wouldn't run Stafford naked, but you certainly can. Don't like the Jacobs play this week, but I understand the matchup. Jackson Dart, I'm sure I'll be writing him up for dfsarmy VIPs as an undervalued play. Guy that, when he's healthy, when he finishes the game, we're seeing him produce scores of over 25 points. Get him in the last round. That's a great pick. Obviously, I took Hampton there, high upside, but we'll see how much Vidal, gets this week as far as workload. Will Hampton continue to get more second week back? I don't know. And then, Jalen Hurts, kind of the same thing I said earlier. I would take chances this week on Philly against the Raiders. Jameson Williams, that's going to be one of the best values of the week. I'm sure he'll make my write-up for DFS Army subscribers this week. Guys, if you like these breakdowns, let me know. Hit that like button. Let me know in the comments who you were on this week. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because we got a lot more content coming your way. DFS-wise, playoff best ball. We'll have that coming up. That's going to wrap it up for this one. We'll see y'all next time.